Hi, I'm Liam Thorpe.
Evening, and I'm Michael Mambo.
And you're watching Team Talk. Hello football fans, and welcome to another edition of Team Talk. It's Monday the 7th of January, and it was what can only be described as a cracking weekend of FA Cup action. Let's first take a check on those scorelines. Okay, Mr. Mambo, big fan of the FA Cup, I know. And what was your game of the weekend?
Super fan of the FA Cup. Well, my game of the weekend was undoubtedly my team, Arsenal v Swansea. Well, for some reason, Swansea is more or less like Arsenal's bogey team.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe they play the way that Arsenal should be playing, but with players like that Arsenal didn't want, but suddenly they're performing for the team.
They were, and it was a cracking game. It was one way to the other. Michu scored first for Swansea, then Podolski, and a stunning volley from an unlikely source in Kieran Gibbs before Danny Graham levelled it up in the last minute. To be honest, Arsenal could do without a replay, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could do without a replay. I don't know how they're going to manage. Is it 5 games in 18 days?
It's a lot.
It is a lot considering the way they've been performing. They'll probably win 1 or 2 of those games, even though I want them to win all those games, but it's going to be a tricky fixture list.
But would you say, as an Arsenal fan and a fan of the Cup, the most important thing is to stay in the competition?
Well, if staying in the competition hurts your other competitions, then don't stay in the competition.
But Arsenal haven't won a trophy since 2005, so this has got to be one of their best chances, hasn't it?
It's not one of their best chances because they're not playing well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but what are they more likely to win than the FA Cup? It's not going to be the Champions League. It's not going to be the Premier League.
Well, let's look at who's in the FA Cup. We've got Manchester United, you've got Manchester City, you've got Chelsea, you've got Liverpool, and you've got Swansea as well. You've got
the bogey team. Yeah.
You see, so if they can win the FA Cup, why can't they win the Premiership? Why can't they win the Champions League?
Well, I suppose people would say, but in terms of the Premiership, Arsenal's problem has always been consistent form over 38 games, whereas the FA Cup is a lot less games than that, so they've got more of a chance.
It's a lot less games, but still you have maybe 10 games till the final. So you see, it's not as straightforward as people make it out to be. Yeah. I mean, we expected them to win in is it the Carling Cup or the Capital One Cup? Sorry, sponsorships changes all the time. The Capital One Cup, but they didn't perform well. They lost to a team in about 2 divisions lower than them.
Yeah. Bradford.
Exactly. So you wouldn't say like this is when they're gonna win. No,
you're right, and anything can happen in the Cup, and we saw that with the other game, Manchester United, who most people would have expected to go to West Ham and get a result, but in the end they needed that man, RVP, to save them, and he takes them into a replay at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I know we talk about this a lot in the office, but where would United be without him?
Well, they'll be where Arsenal is at the moment, because he's got them out of jail so many times. His goals have been priceless for United. Plus, Rooney hasn't been playing particularly well this season. So looking at how many goals they got off him, has he got about 19 goals so far for United?
Yep.
See, so those 19 goals are priceless for United at the moment.
Okay, so United and Arsenal cling on, and they'll have to play a replay in 2 weeks' time. One team that sailed through to the next round is Chelsea, with their new star striker Demba Ba grabbing 2 goals in a 5-1 demolition of Southampton. Now, Mike, we all know that Demba Ba is a good player, but I mean that's a cracking start, isn't it, by any standards?
By any standards, Torres should emulate Ba.
Yeah.
You should see how the guy plays, how he goes towards the ball. He's always looking for the ball, always looking for an opening. And the key to being a striker is being at the right place at the right time.
And he was that. And so Southampton crash out. Interestingly, a slightly closer game, which is what we've chosen to discuss, was Liverpool, who travelled to non-league side Mansfield Town. Now they won 2-1, but the deciding goal was a goal for Luis Suarez. We know him, he's not a player who shies away from controversy, and he's got in a load more controversy now because he very clearly handled the ball on the way through to scoring. Now there's all sorts of debate going on websites, on Twitter, saying should he have confessed to this, should he have owned up? Obviously the referee should have caught it, but Brendan Rodgers, the Liverpool manager, has come out and said it's not Suarez's job to say, hold on, that was a handball. It's the referee's job. Mike, where do you stand on this?
Well, as a player, you have to play the game. It's up to the referee to officiate. You see, there's some decisions that go your way, and there's some decisions that don't go your way. First and foremost, when you look at the incident, he didn't handle it. The ball just came and hit him as he was running towards the goal, and the distance between where the ball was, where it bounced off onto his hand, is so close that you couldn't even avoid it. So it was by no chance something that he did deliberately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's true, but I think at the same time, if the referee had seen it, he still would have said handball. But
if the ref had seen it, he would have waved play on. It's just the same as like when a player has his hands like protecting his body or something like that.
I'm not so sure about this, mate.
No, that was an unnatural. Well, it was a natural way when you're running towards the ball and the ball just comes and.
No, but his hand's up in the air like this. The ball hits it and it helps it on its way to goal.
The distance. You see, this is the thing. If you watch the Thierry Henry handball that got France into the World Cup, now that was deliberate, whereby he actually caught the ball and positioned it.
He's playing basketball, isn't he?
You see, whereas with this one, no matter how much you look at it, you can't say it was deliberate unless you really hate Suarez that much.
No, I'm not his biggest fan, but we're going to have to watch that one again after the show to discuss it more. But one thing I think we both agree on is handball or no handball, it's not his position to say. Imagine if he turns around and goes over to the referee and says, sorry, that was handball. His manager's going to be furious, his fans are furious, his teammates, and his priority should be his fans and his teammates. So I think it's getting a bit silly when everyone's saying he should.
I think, well, looking at Suarez, I'm sorry to say, but you're asking too much for him to go to the ref and say, ref, I'm sorry. I mean, this is a player who caught the ball when they were during the World Cup, just as the ball was about to go in.
He's got form for handballs.
Yeah, the final minute, just before Ghana were about to get into that penultimate stage, and he literally knocked the ball out with his hands. So then you expect the same guy a couple of years later to go and say, ref, I'm sorry, I handled.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Okay, well, those were some of the selected best games of the weekend. And then, of course, the draw for the 4th round of the FA Cup occurred. And unfortunately, it was a bit of a damp squib of a draw. It wasn't very exciting. We've tried to select some of our potentially best ties here. We potentially think United would beat West Ham at home and play maybe Fulham. That's quite a decent game.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace will probably lose to Stoke. So Man City travelling away to Stoke, always a tough game.
Always a tough game for them, but they are also looking at least to win a trophy this season. The Premiership is by no means guaranteed to them, so I think as a way of appeasing their fans, and they're out of the Champions League, so it's paramount that they stay in this competition.
And finally, if Arsenal can overcome their bogey team Swansea at the Emirates, then they'll play Brighton, who interestingly knocked out Newcastle in this round. Do you reckon another giant killing could be on the cards?
No chance. How many giants get killed? Yeah.
And also, usually it happens when a small team has killed one giant, that all their energy is gone, they can't do it again.
They can't do it again, and besides, once you've killed one giant, the other teams are aware of your capabilities and they won't take you for granted. They'll go in there and absolutely hammer you.
Okay, well, that's the FA Cup. We'll leave that alone for a couple of weeks and get back to the serious business of the Premier League and some serious football news. As you all know, it's the January transfer window at the moment. There's all sorts of comings and goings, all sorts of rumours and gossip. And some of the headlines today are around one Mr. Frank Lampard. He has basically revealed that he will not be offered a new contract at Chelsea, despite his recent good form. The 34-year-old, who has developed into one of the best English midfielders of recent times, won't be offered a new contract, and surely Mike, there'll be some teams very excited by that news. He's 34, he's got a couple of years left. Where could you see him playing?
Well, he's looked after himself very well. He's still very fit, he's still scoring goals. He could do a job for any team. I mean, look, Ryan Giggs is still playing and he's a couple of years older. So it's I don't know why Chelsea would not want to keep hold of him for a few more years, at least retire him there. If you're looking at the very few teams, in fact, I think Manchester United is among the very last teams that will keep a player till he retires. And when a big club like United can do this, why shouldn't all these other teams do it?
Exactly. And also I've heard, I'm not sure if it's entirely true, but there's rumour that Frank Lampard is willing to drop his wages by £100,000. So he clearly wants to play for them, but he's not being rewarded. Would you have him at Arsenal?
Yeah, we would have him at Arsenal. Why not? He's a champion. He's a leader. We lack such players in our squad.
Okay, well, at the other end of the age scale, and there's a young man called Wilfried Zaha who plays for Crystal Palace, and he's a bright English international, and apparently Manchester United and Spurs are chasing him. But Crystal Palace rumoured to be wanting £20 million for him. Now, he's played once for England, he's looked quite good, a bit raw, he's playing in a division lower than the Premier League. There is a bit of a worry that there's too much money afforded to English players. Would you agree?
I mean, if Michu can cost 2 million.
Yeah, exactly. And he's scored 20 goals this season.
Yeah, and they're putting Zaha at about 20 million. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that is very, very ridiculous. More like daylight robbery. More like I would equate it to Liverpool paying 35 million for Andy Carroll, who cost just about $1 million the season before.
Well, I was going to say, it's not Crystal Palace's fault, is it? I mean, you can't blame them for wanting to get lots of money. It's these teams that will pay that ridiculous sums.
I think it's the media that hypes up a player better than to make him look like he's all of a sudden he's a Messi. I mean, if he was that good, look at Jack Wilshere. When did he break into the Arsenal team? At 17?
Yeah.
When did Fabregas start playing for
17.
Arsenal? Not 17, 16.
16.
You see? Who did he replace? He replaced Patrick Vieira. You see? So that's how good a player is. And if he's 20 and he's still a division below, yeah, and he's not been picked up. Look at Wayne Rooney. When did he start playing for United?
Well, 16 at Everton, yeah. 17, 18 at United.
Yeah. At 16, he was already in the first team. Those are good players. Those are exceptional players. Maybe
players that should warrant that price tag.
Exactly. Maybe he's more or less like in the region of Francis Jeffers. Costs a lot of money.
Doesn't make it.
You see, because it's a whole different ball game. I mean, look, he's no Messi to be paying 20 million for a 20-year-old who's unproven in the Premiership.
Well, I think that says it all. But you touched on Lionel Messi there, and that brings us to another bit of news. Voting is now open for journalists and football minds to vote towards what is known as the Ballon d'Or, which is Europe's best player of the year. And obviously the favourites are Lionel Messi from Barcelona with his stunning return of nearly 90 goals in 2012, Cristiano Ronaldo of Real Madrid, the brilliant winger who signed, of course, for 80 million from Manchester United and has just been banging in the goals ever since, and the little magician that is Andres Iniesta in the Barcelona midfield. They're the three favourites. Mike, is it Messi?
Well, Messi is arguably one of the best, if not the best ever players on this planet. But first and foremost, I would say Cristiano Ronaldo, simply because of his positioning and his goals ratio. If Messi was on the wing, would he have that many goals?
It's a good point. It's a good point. I'm gonna just to argue with you. I'm gonna go with Messi, but they're obviously the two best players in the world. We'd like to hear from you on this one. If you could hit us up on our ATV Facebook page, we're going to hold a vote who you would vote for your European Player of the Year, and we'll see what that says. Now, finally, we just want to finish with a bit of a controversial topic. Last week, during a friendly match between AC Milan and lower Italian league side Pro Patria, there were sounds and choruses of racist chants aimed particularly at AC Milan midfielder Kevin Prince Boateng. Now, Boateng collected his stuff, got his teammates, and all the players and officials walked off mid-match. Now, interestingly, whereas everyone else in football has applauded this and said that this was the right thing to do, why should he have to listen to racist chants? The president of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, has said that this was the wrong thing to do, that this is not the answer and not the way to deal with things. But Mike, I've got to ask you, what is the right way to deal with it? Does he get on with the game, you know?
I mean, well, Sepp has always been controversial with regards to racism. I remember at one point he just said, you just shake hands and move on, you see. Because at the end of the day, a line has to be drawn. Football is more of a family sport. When they're a team of players, they have to fight for one another. So if you have that bond in your team, which is very good, it takes a strong team to support one player who's constantly abused. I mean, just like if you and me were here and one person was shouting racist abuse, it would be inappropriate for me just to sit and smile as if, oh, it doesn't affect me or you to do the same.
Yeah.
So they were quite right to walk out, because it lets people know that they won't accept it and other people won't accept it as well, and gradually it will be out of football.
Exactly, and I should probably point out that Sepp Blatter did continue, of course, to say that he and FIFA have a zero tolerance policy with racism, and they want to see strict sanctions put on clubs like Pro Patria, such as points deductions and fines. Is that going to be the answer? That something has to change, because obviously we've seen scenes in Russia. You know, is it going to be points deductions?
Well, when Sepp says zero tolerance, for me zero tolerance is walking out, because you're not tolerating it. So unless he's meaning like a lip service zero tolerance, where they just like write on the t-shirt, kick out racism, and smile when one of the players is being abused, or is zero tolerance to the letter of the word.
Okay, well, that's another issue that we'd like you to get involved with. Should the AC Milan players have walked off while hearing this racist abuse, or should there be another way of dealing with it? What do you guys think? Hit us up on our pages at ATV Facebook page. So that is about it for now, and thank you very much for joining me, Mike. Are you looking forward to getting back to the nitty-gritty of the Premier League next week?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Manchester City v Arsenal. I know we're going to get a good hiding at the Emirates, but nonetheless...
And I think there's also a certain Manchester United versus Liverpool to look forward to as well.
Yeah, Liverpool are actually playing very well. I'd like to see Sturridge versus a leaky United defence, and hopefully the Liverpool can do one for me.
And of course, no Aguero for Manchester City, no Yaya Toure. So, is this your best chance to beat City?
It's not our best chance to beat City, because though we're playing well, it's not as a frightening Arsenal team as before. You know, like at the start of the season, every team dreaded playing Arsenal. Now even Swansea will say, "Bring on Arsenal."
Okay, well, we'll be here to discuss those on Friday, and we're also contemplating, due to popular demand, bringing back the famous Hawaiian shirt. So we could, for example, I'm just landing this one on Mike now, but we could say whoever's team loses against the big rival could have to wear the Hawaiian shirt on the following Monday. So
That's more like a rigged result, because he knows his team is playing well. Probably we'll use it when your team face Real Madrid in the Champions League.
well, we'll do that as well, but mainly we've heard that the ladies were loving Mike in the Hawaiian shirt, so it's popular demand.
We can throw in the shot as well.
Okay, so don't miss that on Friday. We'll see you then. It's bye from Mike.
Bye.
And it's bye from me. See you then.